Have you ever wondered why some prayers feel like they rise straight into the sky, yet return in silence? That quiet sting of asking and receiving nothing. That moment when you look at your life and whisper, "Why me?" You don't say it out loud, but the question lives inside you. It follows you through the day, sits with you at night and waits for you in the morning. It's the kind of question that makes you feel exposed. The kind that forces you to face the parts of your life you try to hide. And maybe this story touches a part of you that still aches. A part you've carried so long it feels like it belongs to you now. But it doesn't. Not forever. And if you stay with me, you'll understand why your unanswered seasons aren't punishments. They're shaping something in you that you can't see yet. She knew that feeling better than anyone. She lived with it, breathed it, walked with it every single day. There was a time she believed her life would follow a simple, beautiful path, a home filled with laughter, tiny footsteps across the floor, a future that unfolded the way she always imagined. But life didn't give her what she expected. Instead, it handed her silence. It left her holding hope with trembling hands, unsure if she should keep it or let it go. Every year that passed felt heavier than the last. Every announcement from people around her cut a little deeper. She smiled for them, but a quiet storm raged inside her, a storm she never asked for, a storm she didn't deserve. People around her assumed she was fine. She dressed well, she was kind, she stayed strong in public, but there were nights she couldn't hide from herself. Nights when she lay awake, staring into the dark, wondering if maybe she was the problem, if maybe she wasn't enough. That kind of pain changes you. It doesn't show on your face, but it weighs on your heart. You start questioning your worth. You start wondering why God gives joy to everyone else and leaves you with unanswered prayers. You start feeling like you're standing outside of life, watching it move on without you. She carried that weight silently, because the world doesn't understand wounds that don't bleed. They only see what's missing, not what it costs you to keep going. They whisper. They judge, they assume. They speak as if they understand your story better than you do. But they don't know the strength it takes to wake up every day and try again. They don't know how many times she held herself together when her spirit felt like breaking. They don't know the courage it takes to keep faith alive when everything around you tells you to give up. But here's what made her different. She refused to let her pain define her. She refused to let her empty hands convince her she had an empty purpose. She chose to believe that her worth didn't shrink because her life didn't look like everyone else's. She chose to believe that being childless didn't mean she wasn't chosen. And that belief changed everything, not overnight, but slowly, quietly, powerfully. She learned that God doesn't only give purpose through the things we gain. Sometimes He gives purpose through the things we lack. Sometimes He shapes you by withholding what you thought you needed so He can give you something much greater. Her life began to take a different shape, not the one she prayed for, but the one she was meant for. She started lifting others with the same strength she once prayed for herself. She became a source of comfort for people who felt forgotten. She carried light into places where people lived in shadows. Her story gave others hope. Her resilience softened hearts. Her faith sparked healing, and without realizing it, she became the kind of woman who changes the world quietly, simply by refusing to let pain silence her purpose. She didn't receive the life she imagined, she received the life she was chosen for, and somewhere along the way she discovered something unshakable. Faith doesn't die in waiting unless you let it, and when you hold on, even with trembling hands, something sacred happens inside you. Something that no loss can steal, something that no silence can break, something that turns your unanswered prayer into a deeper calling. She didn't know it yet, but the strength she found in her darkest moments was only the beginning. The kind of strength that doesn't shout, the kind that grows quietly in silence, waiting for the moment it's needed most. And the truth is, that same strength is forming inside you too. You might not see it, you might not feel it, but every unanswered prayer, every delay, every season that feels like it's stretching too long is carving something powerful into your character. You're being prepared for something you can't see yet. And even though it hurts, Even though it tests you, even though it feels unfair, there's purpose in the pressure. She learned that the hard way. She discovered that life doesn't just test your patience, it tests your identity. It tests what you believe about yourself when the world tries to rewrite your worth. And maybe that's happening to you right now. Maybe you're living in a space where you look at your life and wonder if you've missed your moment. Maybe you feel like you wasted years waiting for something that never came. Maybe you feel like you're holding a future that refuses to unfold. But here's the truth she realized. The blessing isn't always in what you receive. Sometimes the blessing is in who you become when life forces you to fight for hope. There came a moment when she understood something crucial. Pain wasn't her enemy. Pain was her teacher. It stripped away the noise. It silenced the lies. It forced her to face her deepest beliefs. And once she confronted them, she saw that the story she was building was bigger than the one she prayed for. She saw that she wasn't empty. She was evolving. She wasn't forgotten. She was being shaped. And the moment she embraced that truth, her life stopped feeling like a punishment and started feeling like a mission. You feel the same tension in your own life. The pull between what you want and what you were made for. The battle between expectation and purpose. Every time you feel like breaking, you're actually being pushed closer to understanding who you are. Every tear is a release. Every setback is a redirection. Every silent season is an invitation to grow into someone stronger, someone sharper, someone more aligned with a destiny that won't require you to pretend or shrink or settle. She realized that faith isn't tested in the moments when everything makes sense. Anyone can believe then. Real faith is born when nothing adds up and you choose to trust anyway, when doors stay closed, when dreams feel delayed, when prayers echo back into your chest. That kind of faith rewrites your entire life. It makes you unstoppable. Not because you aren't hurting, but because you refuse to let the hurt win. People started noticing something different about her. Not because her circumstances changed, but because she changed in the middle of them. She walked with a kind of quiet confidence that didn't depend on outcomes. She didn't need approval. She didn't need validation. She didn't need her life to look like anyone else's. Her strength came from knowing she was chosen for a path that didn't require children to give her purpose, because her purpose was already alive inside her. It lived in her resilience. It lived in her compassion. It lived in the way she lifted others, even while she was still healing. And now this truth reaches you, because you're standing in your own defining moment. You're being asked to rise without answers, to trust without proof, to believe there's meaning in the parts of your story that feel unfinished. You're being called to stop measuring your worth by what you've received and start recognizing the value of who you're becoming. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're not empty. You're being shaped into someone who will look back one day and realize that the silence wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your strength. Hold on to that. Let it settle in your heart. Because the moment you stop seeing your struggle as a curse and start seeing it as preparation, everything inside you shifts. And once it shifts, your life will never be the same again. She began to understand that the real turning point in life isn't when circumstances finally change, but when the meaning you attach to them shifts. That realization didn't come easily. It came through nights when she felt completely undone. Nights when she questioned why her heart had to carry a weight no one else could see. But something powerful started to rise inside her. A quiet rebellion against the belief that her life was incomplete. A refusal to keep seeing herself through the eyes of people who misunderstood her journey. And that inner shift changed the way she walked through the world. It made her see that she wasn't waiting for something to arrive. She was becoming someone new. That same shift is calling you right now. You can feel it even if it scares you. The sense that the life you thought you needed isn't the life you were designed for. The pressure you feel isn't here to crush you. It's here to wake you up. It's here to push you into a version of yourself that's been trying to surface for years. You can't ignore it anymore. The same way she couldn't. Because there comes a moment when the pain you carry stops being something you survive and starts being something you use. And when you reach that moment, something inside you unlocks. She discovered that her worth didn't rise and fall with what she received. Her worth lived in her spirit, in her courage, in the way she kept moving even when her heart felt heavy. She stopped apologizing for her story. She stopped letting people's opinions shape her identity. She stopped shrinking herself to fit into spaces that were never meant for her. And the more she embraced the truth of who she was, the more she realized that her life wasn't missing anything. It was overflowing with purpose she had never noticed before. You need to see that in yourself too. You've been measuring your life by the wrong markers. You've been comparing your timeline to people who would crumble if they carried even half of what you've endured. You've been telling yourself you're behind, when in reality, you've been walking a path that requires far more strength than the one you imagined. And deep down, you know you're tired of feeling like your value depends on outcomes you can't control. You're tired of feeling like you need proof of your purpose before you're allowed to believe in it. But here's the truth. The fact that you're still standing is your proof. The fact that you keep trying is your proof. The fact that you're watching this, wanting to rise, wanting to grow, wanting to understand why your life has unfolded this way, that is your proof. She reached a point where she no longer needed a certain kind of blessing to feel chosen. She realized she was chosen because she survived seasons that should have broken her. She was chosen because she turned emptiness into empathy. She was chosen because she carried a light that could guide people who had lost their way. She wasn't defined by what she lacked. She was defined by what she carried within. And that truth didn't just heal her, it transformed her. And now it's your turn to feel that transformation rising inside you. You are not meant to stay stuck in the version of yourself that was built from fear. You are meant to step into the version built from strength. The version shaped by every silent battle. The version formed by every unanswered prayer. The version refined by every moment you thought you couldn't keep going but did anyway. That version of you is powerful. That version of you is chosen. That version of you is ready to break through the limits you once believed were permanent. Let this be the moment you stop questioning your worth and start claiming your purpose. Let this be the moment you understand that the story you're living is not a mistake. It's a calling, and the sooner you embrace that, the sooner your entire life shifts into something deeper, stronger, and far more meaningful than anything you ever expected. She began to feel a new fire inside her. A fire that didn't rely on perfect timing or perfect answers. It came from the realization that her life was still unfolding, and that she hadn't even seen the chapters that would define her the most. That realization didn't erase her past pain, but it transformed the meaning of it. It turned every silent night into proof of her endurance. It turned every broken expectation into evidence that she was meant to rise in a way she never imagined. And once she felt that shift, everything inside her began to align with a deeper truth. She was never living a lesser life. She was living a carved path, shaped by a hand that saw farther than she ever could. You can feel that same fire waking up in you right now. It's the part of you that refuses to keep living as if your life is on pause. It's the part that's tired of waiting for permission to start healing. It's the part that knows you've been surviving for so long that you forgot what it feels like to actually live. And that part of you is ready to step forward. Not when things get easier. Not when someone finally understands you. Not when your circumstances change. But now. Because the truth is, everything you've endured has been preparing you for a moment exactly like this. A moment when you finally see yourself clearly. She reached that clarity slowly. It came to her in the quiet moments when she stopped trying to prove her worth, when she stopped rehearsing the same doubts over and over, when she finally took a breath and admitted that she was tired of feeling less, tired of shrinking, tired of explaining her pain to people who didn't have the depth to understand it. And once she let all of that go, something new stepped in. A sense of identity that didn't depend on what was missing, but on what was already overflowing inside her. Strength, purpose, compassion, a calling that went beyond the life she once imagined. That same identity is calling you too. You've been carrying the weight of expectations that were never yours. You've been trying to meet standards that don't reflect your purpose. You've been holding on to timelines that were never meant for your path. And deep down, you know it. You know you're meant for something more than the pressure you feel. You know you're meant to rise above the fear that has been whispering you're not enough. You know you're meant to build a life that isn't defined by what you lack, but by what you carry. And what you carry is far greater than you've ever admitted. She learned that the moment she stopped chasing what she thought she needed, the world around her began to shift. Not because everything magically fell into place, but because she stepped into her true self. She became someone who could stand tall without a title, someone who could give without feeling empty, someone who could inspire without saying a word about her struggles. Her presence changed things. Her resilience softened hardened hearts. Her faith gave strength to those who were drowning in doubt. Without even realizing it, she became a vessel of purpose, not because she had everything, but because she survived everything. And you are on the edge of that same transformation. You are standing on the threshold between who you were and who you're becoming. You felt the pull. You felt the shift. You felt the quiet voice inside you saying there is more to your life than the pain you've carried. And it's right. There is more. There's always been more. You just needed the courage to see it. You needed the strength to claim it. You needed the reminder that being chosen isn't about what you hold in your hands. It's about what you hold in your heart. This is your moment to rise, to stop waiting for reassurance, to stop viewing yourself through the lens of loss, to step into the truth that has been waiting for you all along. You are built from resilience. You are shaped by endurance. You are strengthened by every moment you thought you couldn't survive but did. And now your life is ready to expand into something greater than your pain, something deeper than your fear, something powerful enough to change everything that comes after this moment. She felt something shifting inside her, something she couldn't ignore even if she tried. It was the realization that every moment she thought was breaking her was actually building her. Every delay was sharpening her. Every disappointment was strengthening the foundation she would one day stand on with unshakable certainty. She started to see that the life she thought she wanted was too small for the person she was becoming. And that recognition didn't come from pride. It came from truth. It came from finally seeing herself without the fog of fear and comparison. It came from understanding that being chosen doesn't always look like receiving what you asked for. Sometimes it looks like being prepared for something you didn't even know you were capable of carrying. That same truth is rising in you. You've spent years underestimating your own resilience. You've mistaken survival for stagnation, when in reality you've been transforming in ways you couldn't see yet. You've carried the weight of silence, of waiting, of unanswered questions, and you've treated those burdens like signs of failure. But they were never failures. They were forming you. They were teaching you how deep your endurance runs. They were proving that you can walk through storms without losing the core of who you are. And that is rare. That is powerful. That is the kind of strength that can't be taken from you. She learned that the moment she stopped fighting her story, it started making sense. She stopped grieving the life she imagined long enough to notice the life she was actually living. A life filled with moments she once overlooked. A life shaped by compassion so deep it could only come from someone who had known real pain. A life touched by quiet victories she never celebrated because she didn't think they counted. But they did. Every time she chose faith over fear, every time she kept going when giving up felt easier, every time she showed love even when her heart felt empty, those moments were building a legacy no one could see but everyone could feel. And you're building your own legacy right now. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it's there. It's in the way you keep pushing through days that feel heavier than they should. It's in the way you reach for meaning, even when life feels uncertain. It's in the way you refuse to let bitterness harden you. You think no one notices, but the strength you carry is already touching lives. You've inspired people without realizing it. You've lifted people without meaning to. You've survived things others couldn't, and you did it quietly. That quiet strength is your calling card. It's the mark of someone who has been chosen for something deeper. She discovered that purpose isn't found in moments of celebration. Purpose is born in moments of surrender. It grows in the spaces where you realize you can't control everything, but you can control how you rise. She embraced the truth that her life wasn't defined by one unanswered prayer. It was defined by the way she kept believing anyway, the way she kept walking when she didn't know where the path would lead, the way she held on to faith even when doubt felt louder. And once she understood that, she stopped seeing herself as someone who was lacking. She saw herself as someone who was growing into a destiny far greater than her expectations. You're standing in that same space now. You're standing at the edge of who you were and who you're becoming. You can feel the pull forward, even if part of you still clings to old fears. But you're ready. You're ready to step into a life that isn't defined by what you didn't receive. You're ready to stop questioning your worth and start honoring your growth. You're ready to accept that your path has never been a mistake. It has been a preparation for strength, a preparation for purpose, a preparation for a future that requires every ounce of the resilience you've built in silence. And once you choose to see your life through that lens, everything changes. The weight lifts, the fear loosens, the doubt fades. You begin to understand that you were never overlooked. You were being shaped for something extraordinary, something only a chosen heart can carry. She began to understand that there was a reason her strength frightened her at times. It was because she had carried more than most people ever will, yet she still managed to keep her heart open. She still managed to hope. She still managed to believe in goodness even when life didn't show it back to her. And that kind of heart doesn't come from easy seasons. It comes from battles that reshape you. It comes from disappointments that force you to dig into depths you didn't know you had. It comes from the quiet decision to keep choosing faith, even when it feels like faith is choosing everyone but you. That decision became her anchor, the thing that kept her grounded when everything else felt uncertain. You've made those same quiet decisions. You've stayed when you wanted to run. You've held on when you wanted to let go. You've given love even when your own heart felt empty. And none of that was pointless. Those moments became the proof that you are being shaped into someone who can carry blessings without breaking under their weight. Someone who can hold purpose without losing compassion. Someone who can stand in the fire without letting it turn you into someone cold. And even if you can't see the transformation happening, it's there. It's in your voice. It's in your spirit. It's in the way you refuse to surrender to despair. She learned that faith doesn't always show up with answers. Sometimes it shows up as a whisper telling you to keep moving, even when the road ahead looks blurry. And she followed that whisper. Not because she felt strong, but because she refused to let her story end in the middle of the storm. She chose to believe that the silence she felt wasn't abandonment. It was preparation. It was the space where invisible work was being done inside her. It was the season that would one day make sense when she looked back and saw how much she had grown. And when she finally realized that, the fear that once controlled her lost its power. That same whisper is calling you. It's telling you that your story is far from over. It's reminding you that every time you felt unnoticed, you were actually being refined. It's urging you to see yourself not as someone who has been left behind, but as someone who has been strengthened for something that requires more depth than an ordinary life ever could. You are not in the shadows because you are forgotten. You are in the shadows because roots grow in darkness. Strength grows in silence. Identity grows in the places no one applauds. She discovered that once she embraced her journey, she no longer needed the world's validation to feel whole. She no longer needed timelines to match. She no longer needed outcomes to prove that she was worthy of joy. She finally saw that her worth was built into her soul, not handed to her by circumstances. And with that realization, she stopped rushing her life. She stopped begging for answers. She stopped punishing herself for things she couldn't control. She moved forward with a heart that knew it was chosen long before the world had the chance to recognize her value. And you are walking toward that same freedom. The moment you stop tying your identity to what hasn't happened is the moment you begin to rise into who you were meant to be. The moment you accept that your journey is sacred, even when painful, is the moment your strength becomes undeniable. You're not behind, you're not lacking, you're not forgotten. You're being shaped for a destiny that requires a heart that has been tested, a mind that has been sharpened, and a faith that has been strengthened in silence. Everything you've walked through has been molding you into someone who can carry what others would collapse under. Your story is not defined by what didn't come. It's defined by what never left, your resilience, your depth, your courage, your faith. And once you truly grasp that, nothing in this world will have the power to make you feel small again. You've carried pain in silence for years, pretending it didn't shape you, pretending you were fine while something inside you kept breaking a little more each day. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still holding on to a future you've never seen but refuse to give up on. That alone makes you stronger than you realize. Most people crumble when life stops applauding them, but you kept moving even when no one noticed. You didn't quit when the world got quiet. You didn't stop when the support disappeared. You pushed through nights that felt endless and mornings that felt heavy. That strength is real. That strength is rare. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of your fear, and it's a version you've never met, stronger, sharper, wiser. But you can't meet that version until you stop letting old wounds control your steps. You can't rise while dragging the weight of everyone who doubted you. You can't grow while replaying the moments that broke you. You have to treat your future like something sacred, because it is. Your life changes the moment you decide your past is no longer the driver of your story. You already know what it feels like to be tired, disappointed, and overlooked. Now it's time to see what it feels like to win. But winning won't come to someone who keeps apologizing for wanting more. Stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Stop giving your energy to people who never deserved it. Stop waiting for permission to become the person you were meant to be. No one is coming to save you. You save yourself when you choose discipline over excuses, focus over distraction, elevation over approval. And you know what's crazy? You already have everything you need. Not in the sense of comfort or ease, but in the sense of raw power. You have been forged in struggle, shaped by disappointment, hardened by experience. You carry lessons others haven't even lived through. Your scars are not weaknesses. They're proof that life hit you and you refuse to fall apart. Every time you kept going, you built the foundation for the person you're becoming now. The world is full of people who start strong but never finish. People who talk big but never move. People who dream loudly but act quietly. You can't be one of them. Not after everything you've survived. You didn't walk through fire just to settle for average. You didn't carry heartbreak just to live a life that doesn't set your soul on fire. You owe it to yourself to push harder, think bigger, and expect more. Your future demands a level of commitment you've never given before, and if you want it, you must step into that version of yourself today. The truth is simple. You get one life, one chance, one story, and every day you wake up, you choose whether you repeat your history or rewrite it. Most people choose the familiar pain because it feels safe. You can't do that anymore. You're not here to repeat chapters you've already read. You're here to create something new, something bold, something unforgettable. Look at how far you've come. Look at the storms you survived. Look at the moments that were supposed to break you. You didn't just endure them. You grew from them. You learned from them. You became someone with grit, someone with depth, someone with resilience most people will never understand. That's why your future is different. That's why your path feels harder. God doesn't train weak warriors. He sharpens people with purpose. So keep moving, keep believing, keep becoming. You're closer than you think. Your breakthrough won't come from luck or chance. It will come from the choices you make today. And if you keep choosing courage over fear, faith over doubt, and action over hesitation, you will rise in ways that will silence every voice that ever doubted you, including your own. You've spent too long believing your pain made you weak, when in reality, it turned you into someone who doesn't break easily. Every setback carved depth into you, every heartbreak sharpened your vision, every disappointment forced you to stand on ground you built yourself. People around you may never understand how hard it was to carry everything you never talked about, but that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that you're still here, still fighting, still reaching for a life that once felt out of reach. That hunger inside you isn't random. It's a sign that you were meant for more than survival. You were meant to rise. There comes a moment when you realize no one is coming to rescue you, and instead of scaring you, it frees you. It frees you from waiting. It frees you from depending on people who don't even understand your journey. It frees you from the need to be chosen, seen, or validated. Because the day you choose yourself is the day everything shifts. You stop chasing people. You stop begging for love. You stop apologizing for dreaming bigger than your surroundings. You begin to see that the doors you need aren't behind anyone else. They're inside you, and once you open them, life stops feeling like something that happens to you and starts feeling like something you command. You know what hurts the most? It's not the failures. It's how long you stayed somewhere your soul outgrew. It's how often you lowered your voice so others could feel comfortable. It's how many times you ignored your intuition because you didn't want to seem difficult. But that version of you is gone. You're stepping into a new space where you no longer fit into small expectations. You've seen too much, learned too much, endured too much to keep pretending you're ordinary. You weren't built for a life that's quiet on the inside. You were built to create impact, to rise through pressure, to become the example you never had. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Growth always is. It pulls you away from people who only knew the old you. It pushes you into seasons where you have to trust the process, even when nothing makes sense. It forces you to carry yourself through nights when your mind is loud and the world is silent. But discomfort is a sign you're not stuck anymore. It's a sign you're finally moving in the direction your spirit has been begging you to go. You don't transform in comfort. You transform when life tests you and you refuse to break. Some people will call it selfish when you start choosing yourself. Let them talk. They didn't stay up with your loneliness. They didn't hold your chest when anxiety crushed you. They didn't watch your dreams collapse and still find the will to rebuild. Only you know the weight you carried, so only you get to decide how far you rise. This chapter belongs to you, not to their opinions, not to their predictions, not to their doubts. You owe no explanations for the life you're building. Deep down, you already know you're capable of more. You've had glimpses of it in moments when your confidence breaks through your fear. You've felt it in the times you surprised yourself with strength you didn't know you had. You've seen it every time life tried to bury you, but you came back sharper. That's who you truly are. Not the confused version, not the insecure version, not the tired version, the resilient one, the focused one, the one who refuses to settle. So keep going, not because everything is perfect, but because you're becoming someone who doesn't need perfect conditions to grow. Keep pushing, not because it's easy, but because the life you want demands a version of you that's bold, disciplined, and unstoppable. Keep believing, not because you've seen the finish line, but because something inside you knows you're meant to reach it. And when you do, every silent battle, every lonely night, every unseen struggle will make sense. You're not climbing for nothing. You're climbing because your future is calling, and you're finally strong enough to answer it.